Welcome to Fitness Casual. We help you ditch diets and build habits no matter how busy you are. I'm Andrew Hayes, and with me is the queen of step count, Kat Bass.
Hello, everyone.
Kat, do you have a favorite metric, as nerdy as that is? I know you love your Apple Watch. Like, what are you looking at on a regular basis?
I do. I would say steps. However, my new favorite metric is my temperature. Every morning, my watch takes my temperature, and it's part of the like fertility tracking or cycle tracking, whatever. When I came off birth control, I started doing this because I was like, now I need to know what's going on, because you can't really when you're on it. It's not the same, and it's been fascinating and amazing to just see over the months of how accurate it actually is, of like when your ovulation's coming and then after you ovulate and then when your period's expected. Like, it's dead accurate over time the more it gets to know me. And seeing what my temperature is in the morning actually really helps me know my stress levels or whatnot, or if I'm starting to get sick, it will go higher. So I think that's been a really fun thing, and it's so regulated because the moment my alarm goes off on my watch, it does my temperature. So it's synced with when I get up in the morning. I did a method where I used a little thermometer that the app sent me, like the cycle tracking app sent me. So fucking off. Like, that's not the way to do it. It's so annoying to, like, you have to lay in bed, take your temperature before you move first thing in the morning. Like, no one wants to do that, but my watch just does it automatically. This is a big reason a lot of women have the Oura Ring, but now that Apple Watch does it. But I've just found that to be really, really cool to monitor and learn. I've learned a lot about my body just through paying attention to that.
That's amazing. That's great. I'm glad there are lots of women clearly working at Apple figuring that out, because I'm sure men don't even think about this, which is that's really cool to hear. I still track my sleep every single day. I have for probably half a decade now, and I really enjoy it. It can definitely be a disordered behavior, which we will cover a little bit today in your relationship with your wearable, but I just really enjoy it. It just really helps me, partly because sometimes I will get up at 4:45 in the morning. And I'll look and I'll be like, oh, I actually fell right asleep at 9:30 and I didn't move all night. And so I'm actually just ready to rock. And some nights I'm like, oh, that was really restless. I need to go back to bed. And that clarity really helps me. And then obviously sometimes my kids just wake me up and I don't have a lot of sleep and whatever. I tell myself, like, this metric does not define my actions for the day. I will be fine. I've learned a lot about sleep debt as well, which is really cool. And if you're not familiar, it's exactly what it sounds like. And so if you have a wild night out and you plan to go to a bachelor party and drink a ton or be out late at a concert or whatever, sleep debt can be your best friend. If you get 4 or 5 good nights in a row and then you get 4 or 5 hours the next night, like, you'll be totally fine. You might not even notice the difference. And I've really proven that with my tracking. So it's really helped me let loose a little bit, as someone who's interested in sleep. Is just really like, take a night off every once in a while. Who cares about the sleep? I've been sleeping well a week in a row. Let's just have some fun,
I like sleep tracking because you're not going to in the morning try to do math to calculate what you'll have no idea, one, and the number it tells you of what you slept is probably not what you thought. And not saying it's a perfect science, but for me, sometimes I'm like, wow, I slept 9.5 hours, hell yeah, but I'm not doing that math in my head to like figure that out. So I think that's such a good one because no one's manually doing that, like, not at all.
Yep, totally agree. Well, there's a reason why these are so popular, and I think it's been interesting watching the evolution of, everyone thought this was like going to change the game forever when they were first invented. It was like the Nike Fuel Band and a few others. And now I think we've realized there's a million ways to use it. But the market is growing. It's now 1 in 3 Americans use a fitness tracker or a smartwatch. Globally, it's expected to be like $150 billion market over the next few years. And then Apple, I know this because I used to work there. Like, this is their big bet is health. So not so much selling the watch, although they sold, I think it was 50 million last year. It's more about what that means. Like, I have someone in my family with the heart condition, and like, she wears the Apple Watch as like part of her work with her doctor and monitors her heart rate on a regular basis and tracking your cycle, tracking your sleep, looking for heart arrhythmias. Like, there's rumors that measuring your blood sugar is coming externally, which is wild technology. I'm sure we're not that far away. And so I think we're really just at the crest of the wave of how amazing wearables can be. But we're not going to speculate about how these can take us to, and colonize Mars or anything crazy like that. We're going to talk about kind of what they do today and where these fit into your journey. I think most people are listening either from a weight loss goal or maybe increasing and improving their exercise results goal. So we're going to keep that lens for the most part today. So we'll start with some of the benefits, which is really cool. And I think one of them is just, this is I think my favorite stat, Kat, is people who wear a fitness tracker increase their daily steps by an average of 1,800 steps per day, which then, of course, leads to a measurable improvement in heart health and all the other stuff that comes with it, which is cool.
It is so cool. I think steps are such an easy thing to track. And I don't care if your watch is a little bit off on what your actual steps are, because if that's the number it thinks it is, then that's the number you go with. And like for me, I just know if my steps are in this range. Like, I just kind of know where I should fall, and I don't really care how accurate that is or not, because that's a consistent measurement I use from one wearable. I'm not wearing a bunch of different ones to see how the steps differ, but I just know, like, if I'm in this ballpark, that's where I want to be, and I don't overthink it much beyond that, because you really can be like, well, it's not accurate, blah, 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 but, you know, I think you just have to pick a metric you like, and I think steps is phenomenal because everyone can understand it.
Yeah, let's go on record about that. Steps it was everyone's favorite thing, 10,000 steps, and then everyone said it's stupid and it's inaccurate. And so I'd say, Kat, I think we're pretty aligned here, which is exactly what you said. It's a baseline. It's your baseline. First of all, you need to wear your watch regularly every day or have your phone on you every day. If you're just wearing it randomly, then of course your steps are inaccurate. But if you put it on every morning when you wake up and take it off every night before you go to bed, or you wear it 24 hours like I do, then your steps are accurate in terms of over the long run. Are they increasing? Are they decreasing? Are they the same? And a lot of times in our challenges or with our clients, we will give them a goal to increase their steps by 2,000. It is somewhat achievable, but also, again, comes with true, measurable, impactful progress. And so whether you're at 3,000 or 15,000, adding 2,000 as a goal will really help you improve your fitness. And whether or not you're actually taking 15,000 steps or 2,500 or whatever, it doesn't really matter because you're looking at the trend, not just one day.
Yeah, and you can, if you just pay attention to steps, then it's just interesting to also understand your NEAT, like how much you're moving, and when you're not trying to exercise or you're not on a walk, how many steps you're taking. Like the amount of steps I take in my apartment, just like pacing around and standing a lot, like it's up there, and that's pretty fascinating stuff to learn, where otherwise like I would have no idea what that looks like.
It's so true. I think, we're going to give our opinion at the end, kind of, does it make sense for you? Which one should you buy? But I'll just tell you right up front, if you're going to buy something for a couple $100 and it's going to make you walk 2,000 steps more every single day for the rest of your life, it's a great investment. Like, just do that, if nothing else. We'll talk about some other benefits too, but increasing your steps can be life-changing. We've talked a fair amount about walking, especially outside. Hormone regulation, insulin regulation, mood, sleep. There's just so many benefits to walking, and we're all just so crazy all day and sitting at our desk and sitting in our car that measuring your steps is really a simple thing you can do today with your wearable to really improve your health.
And easy for small wins. We just talked a lot about confidence in our coaching masterclass, but a big thing was like being able to, make a promise to yourself and then carry out on it. Steps is one of the easiest ways to be like, this is my goal, and you hit it in the day. You feel better, you had a win, maybe nothing else went right regarding nutrition or whatever, but you hit your steps. That is something you can clearly look at and see and feel good about and build confidence. So I think like it's such an easy point of entry for someone as well.
That's right. And so the second piece that's a really big benefit that's simple is just developing that consistent habit. Apple, I know we both use Apple Watch. They really reward closing your rings on a regular basis, looking at it in a trend. And yes, we're all going to have imperfect days. Maybe we don't close our rings every single day. But doing that more often than not is really going to help you, and it gamifies it. And if that's what it takes to keep you moving, then so what, right? That's great. One of the things I love about the rings, we won't get into all of them, but the exercise ring is elevating your heart rate to a certain amount where you're actually exercising. And I think that's another one that most days you want to push your body a little bit. You can get 10,000 steps, but you're really just, walking to the bathroom and back kind of thing, or walking to your car and back, and adding just a little bit. No one's saying go sprint on a treadmill or anything, but getting your heart rate up. Maybe it's a longer walk. Maybe it's chasing your kids. Maybe it's playing a sport for fun, whatever it is. That's really beneficial too. And the Apple Watch will show you that without you having to sit there in real time playing soccer with your kid and be like, is my heart rate high enough to count as exercise today? Like your watch is going to tell you that. And that will help you make better decisions over time of like, okay, it looks like over the last 4 weeks since I've started this new job, I have not elevated my heart rate at all. Something needs to change. What can I do to change that? And so there's a lot of insights that can help you make better improvements over time. Love it. There's other benefits too that we kind of already mentioned about just your health in general. Wearables can detect health issues. The Apple Watch is an FDA approved EKG, which is really cool. It can detect AFib, atrial fibrillation, with up to 97% accuracy.
Wow.
Kat, we talked about this just before we started. I had an incident recently where I passed out. I had what's called a vasovagal syncope. And the first thing I did was like, well, let me check my heart and make sure it's actually pumping normally. It was really nice to have that on my wrist and be like, okay, my heart is fine. Maybe I don't need to go to the ER because this is actually just kind of a normal human response. They can also detect drops in HRV, which is something we talked about on a previous episode, and we mentioned this as well. But during the COVID pandemic, the PGA Tour for golf made every single golfer wear a Whoop because it was measuring their HRV every day and could predict COVID sometimes several days in advance of symptoms. And so it's really amazing to look at your holistic health too. When you look at heart rate variability, the health of your autonomic nervous system, really amazing. And then they use it in all kinds of clinical settings as well, recovery from surgeries, depression, anxiety. I mean, it's pretty wild. This is, again, why we love the Apple Watch, because it's just kind of like a blank canvas for how to measure your health.
I love when my watch tells me I'm in a loud place. It's
Yeah,
like
that's another one.
decibels are loud. And then
Yep.
it's just funny to be like, where was I? Like sometimes when I'm in my Muay Thai gym, if people are hitting the bag and I'm right there, it'll be like, whoa, loud sound detected.
Yep.
But I don't think about loud sounds nearby, so it's like interesting to look at. And it also does like your breathing rate when you're sleeping, like all sorts of things I didn't even know existed. It's just kind of fun to look at. Like
Yep.
I'm learning about myself. I would have no clue anything about this if I didn't have this watch on me at all times.
That's right. Pulse oximeter is another one. If you ever go to the doctor, they can do your blood pressure. And nowadays it seems like they really put that little, whatever that thing's called, on the tip of your finger.
Oh, yeah.
Look at your blood oxygen. It's, again, a
oxygen.
great measure of like your health. And you can, some of the watches now, Apple Watches, you can just do that whenever you feel like it, which is pretty amazing. So that's another reason. But there are some drawbacks. Accuracy, I think, as a whole is a big one. And so before we even get into the details, just remember that we're establishing a baseline and we're looking at trends. No one's going to sit here and tell you that if you went into a lab and measured your VO2 max on a treadmill, like 50 Cent in the Inda Club video, that like of course it's going to be wildly different than what your wearable is telling you, but it doesn't mean you can't use it. But some of the inaccuracies to look out for, heart rate. It's been proven to be fairly accurate when your heart's at rest, so your resting heart rate up to 95% accurate, but can drop as low as 60% or less during high-intensity training. This is difficult when you talk about the heart rate zones, which is something we get into a lot with clients, like are you in zone 2, zone 5? It's directional at best, but over time, let's say you switch from Orange Theory to resistance training, it would be interesting to see, where your heart rate ends up, but just remember it's directional.
Yeah, I don't train based on my heart rate, but afterwards I always look to see what it was doing. But I'm not like, using that to make or during my workout, I'm not looking to make sure, because there's sometimes a lag when you get it up and then it takes a minute to tell you it's up, and then by that time it's going back down. So, I don't think it's, I wouldn't use it like by the minute, but afterwards I love to like just see what zones I was in, and sometimes I'm really surprised by my heart rate if I'm just like lifting. Like sometimes it's way higher than I thought. And like it just gives insights also to how hard you're actually working your body. And for me, like I need to know that, and sometimes I'm not quite sure, and that's really helpful.
That's right. I did an EKG recently and my resting heart rate was, I think, like 58. My watch says it's 55. And the point is like, who really cares? I'm sure the EKG is right, of course, in the doctor's office. But the point is like, who cares? Because what you should be looking at is, oh, since I've started my new desk job, my heart rate has gone up. Or since I've started this workout routine over the last 6 months, my resting heart rate has gone down. So don't worry about whether the BPM is exact, and more, again, looking at the trends. Another issue is they're just there's some struggles with skin tones, tattoos, wrist positioning. So again, not super accurate. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on all the different wearables and all the challenges they have with tattoos, but just something to remember is like they're not perfect. So consider that when doing your research. There is a stat that 30% of users abandon their wearables within 6 months. My opinion on this, Kat, is that is almost exclusively the fault of the person buying it and maybe setting their expectations on what they were buying it for. Could have been an impulse buy. If you an impulse buy, listen to our financial coaching episode with Leah. Or maybe you just thought it was going to be the next thing that made you start a fitness routine and you had unrealistic expectations. What do you think about that, Kat?
Yeah, I agree. I think it has nothing to do with the wearable, but if you thought buying a piece of technology and wearing it was going to like make you lose 20 pounds, definitely not the case. Or you need to just have a better relationship with the data you're seeing or understanding there. I think what's really sad is when people don't wear it because they like didn't get results and now they feel unmotivated by it or whatever. Or when people's sleep is so bad that they can't handle seeing what their sleep is. I'm like, avoidance, hello. Not saying you need to do anything about it, but if you can't confront reality and it makes you that uncomfortable, I think that's something to take a deeper dive in. I have heard people say that they stop using wearables because it's like too much technology or it's like basically their phone on their wrist. And to that, I would say you have boundaries to implement. Like for me and my watch, one, I have it all gray. I don't see any color unless I like open up the activity thing. But when I look at it, there's no color. So that automatically isn't as interesting to my eyes. I have it, you know, there's nothing on the screen if I'm not looking at it. So it's not constantly getting my attention. I have my text messages silenced. I have my phone call silenced. So I do not use my Apple Watch really to communicate. But if I wanted to see, oh, did I just get a text? I could go find that. But it's not telling me that automatically. So your settings are within your control. So you could turn all that stuff off. I delete almost every app that downloads to my Apple Watch. I take off because I don't need Bank of America telling me that I spent money at all on my watch. But you are in control of that. You can control every single thing. So I automatically disable like little pop-ups that I don't like, you know, and I just make that so my watch is, you know, it's not a distraction tool for me whatsoever. And I keep it very minimal. So I suggest anyone do that if you're also finding that it's just too much like your phone or you're too distracted, like you're in the driver's seat of that experience.
That's right. No one wants. We've all been at dinner with a person who's just constantly glancing at their watch every time they get a push notification. That's crazy to me. Just turn it off. I mentioned this in our Alt Life community because this was quite the question. We had a lot of people engaging on their opinions on wearables. What works for me is I turn all the notifications off, Kat, just like you on my watch. I also pay for the GPS for the cell phone service on my watch. I think it's $4 a month. It's what's important to me. I know that I can leave the house at any point. And if something happens with my kids or I have an emergency situation, I can make a phone call. I can make a text message. I don't need my phone on me. Creates a lot of boundary for me. So yes, I understand the logic behind someone saying it's another device to check. But I think with intention, it can actually help free you and set better boundaries.
Yeah. I would actually say, this is like such a side note, one of the biggest things I use my watch for is a timer. Like if I'm cooking something or if I'm in the sauna and I just press go so I see how many minutes I'm in there. That's probably one of the biggest things I use it for, is just a timer right on your hand is really, really helpful to have.
Did you want to touch on the disordered relationship at all with some of these metrics?
Yes. So I think Apple Watches definitely are, you know, helpful. I'll start with helpful. So I think they work for people who are numbers oriented. So like having data helps you understand things better, but you have a relationship that you don't take that too seriously. I think Apple Watches work well for someone who has advanced goals. If you are like need to pay attention to your VO2 max or, you know, heart rate stuff, like, or you have really specific goals, training related, I think that's what wearables are really useful for, just to collect data. Obviously monitoring trends over time and the small daily wins, like I mentioned, regarding the steps. But I think one thing they really shine is to just bring awareness. Bring awareness to things that you have no clue where you're at. And a lot of times when I use my watch data, I love that I can go see what I was doing in 2017. what the hell was I doing? I have no idea. But I can look back and I actually can see like my weight trends. I can see my VO2 max back then. Like you see trends. So now over time, or the rest of however long I wear a watch for, I have things like quantifiable data I can look at. And I don't have to remember what I was doing back then because my watch tells me, and it's really nice to see. Or even your weight trends. If you aren't aware that you're gaining little bit of weight year after year, but all of a sudden your Apple Watch is like, hey, your 6-week average is up. Sometimes for some people that might be like, oh, okay. Like it's going to let you know. Sometimes that can be really annoying, but I think that's where, if you're unaware of certain things, that's where this technology can really help you. But that being said, there are so many people who have a not so good relationship with these things. The first time I ever wore an Apple Watch, I borrowed it from a friend who wasn't using it. He was like, I'm not using mine, here, like go play. I like erased it, uploaded all my settings. And this was like way back in the day, and it really messed me up because I really was just chasing more steps and more stuff. And this is when I was like intermittent fasting and I was like having all sorts of issues, but it was making me like really neurotic because I was just trying to hit like crazy goals that made no sense, but I just didn't have awareness at the time to understand. But then I stopped wearing it. I was like, here you go, you can have your watch back. Actually, no, I smashed it on a dumbbell by accident. I hit it on a thing at the gym, broke it, and I was like, I'm so sorry. But that kind of ended that. And honestly, like I took that as a sign. I was like, that happened because it's not meant to be. And then a few years later, I got another one. No issue whatsoever because I had like a different maturity at the time. But I do understand they can make you feel like you're never doing enough. And if that's the vibe that your wearable is giving you, you shouldn't be wearing one, or you just need to reset the mindset or something there. But it does make people feel bad, but that's why you need to just be realistic about what you're trying to do. For me, I almost never have an issue getting a lot of steps in. So if it's a travel day and I barely move and I walk under 5,000 steps, I am not bothered by it. But I promise you, 5-6 years ago, that would have really bothered me like immensely. It would have really upset me. But now I'm like, this is not a problem because every other day I'm doing fine. So you just have to manage that better. I think they're harmful if people use metrics as a statement of who they are. Like we know those people who are like, I am data and I am HRV, and they're annoying to talk to because everything is so like nuanced and whatever. But if I wake up and I thought I had better sleep than my watch tells me, I don't then all of a sudden get mad at myself, or I don't all of a sudden like feel more tired than I do. Like I have awareness of how my body feels in relation to what it's telling me, but you just cannot make that be part of your identity because that will just create a dysfunctional relationship.
Right.
I think they're harmful if you see the behavior you track as a chore. If you're like, oh, my steps, or oh, whatever, like if you're not interested or finding it helpful, then there's probably something better that you could do, because at the end of the day, like to find it helpful, you have to enjoy part of the experience or get something positive out of it. If you have a really negative attitude, it's only going to work negatively towards you. Same thing with eating or tracking your macros or whatever. If someone has a really bad attitude regarding tracking food, I address that before anything else regarding the tracking. Or do we need to find something else? Or can we work through this? Is it a mindset shift? But if you feel like you also don't have a choice to use your wearable, like you're like forced to do it or whatnot, like that's not a good place to be. It's just not going to help you. But I guess the most important one is feeling guilty. If you should, it's okay if the number inspires you to change or be like, oh, I got to go get a walk in. My steps are really low. But there's a big difference between letting it like actually make you feel guilty or shameful or like you did not do enough. And I've been in a place where my step count was literally fine for the day, but I made myself go on a walk where I didn't really need to because I was like, I just like literally have to get there. That's not a good place to be. And I remember like being in that moment of recognizing like this is unhealthy. This is not good. And then, I thought deeper about it and kind of addressed that. And that's why now intentionally, if my steps are low, I don't go do much about it because I'm not that worried. But if you're in that place, there's a big difference between trying to be more aware and then it making you feel bad all the time. So you just have to understand like how it's really making you feel. We could really deep dive into why you feel those things, but that's not the point. The point is that maybe the wearable device is not the best thing for you. But again, if you're avoiding reality and you don't like anything that it's telling you, that might be, something else at play. But I do think they can make people very obsessive or focusing on the wrong things. And at the end of the day, anything that increases your stress to the point of you're being neurotic or highly obsessive, that will work backwards against you too. We need flexibility. You need to be able to go with the flow. You need to be able to, if you forget your watch one day, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Years ago, I couldn't get my Apple Watch to update. Something was wrong with it and it just wouldn't update. And I needed to leave for work in the morning because I was it was also 6 a.m. and my thing wasn't updating. The wheel wasn't turning and it was dead. And I just remember severe stress that I was I'm going to go my whole day without this thing. And then I could not handle that at the time, and I look back now, I'm that's insane to me. What? But it is a thing, and I think the Apple Watch has also gotten better where it functions much better than before. But if it's creating that level of stress, if you don't have it on, you need to just check yourself. And I think that's a common thing people get into, but as long as you can just, double check, see what's going on, why am I so obsessed with this metric or whatever, you can also kind of pull yourself out of it. But those are the main reasons that someone should not use one. But I think that's very specific to the person, and I would never give blanket advice. I think most people would benefit from one if I had to give blanket advice. But
Agreed.
Maybe kids or teenagers, actually have no idea if they even use wearables.
It's a whole can of worms with cell phones and stuff, which we won't get into. But yes, I would say, so we're about to get into specific wearables, ones that we've crowdsourced, our opinions, all of that. Before we do that, just to summarize pretty much everything you said, Kat, and we've talked about, is you need to fall in love with the process, not the results. And this applies to any nutrition, fitness, anything. If you are, let's say you wake up this morning, you're okay, I'm really going to start eating healthier. That's great, but you should not step on the scale every single morning and expect it to only go down. Yeah. And then only use those results as a measure of how well you're doing. You need to go back and listen to our episode on limiting beliefs and all of that stuff just to really keep you motivated and on track. And it's the same with your wearable. It should be another tool in your toolkit. It should bring you joy. It should help keep you on track. If you're looking at your steps and every time you don't hit it, you're a failure, or you're running around your neighborhood at 9:30 p.m. and putting your health in jeopardy just to hit your step goal, that's not, you're looking at too much at the results, and you really need to fall in love with the process. So just listen to your body, get feedback from all kinds of places, not just your wearable. All right. We're going to go into our opinion. So, don't attack us on this. This is just what we are coaches. We've coached lots and lots of people. I have used a Whoop. I don't recommend it for almost anyone listening to this podcast, and I'll tell you why. One, it is a subscription. I think, why would you pay $30, $40, whatever it is now, a month for the rest of your life, right? You want to build a healthy relationship with your wearable. You want to use it for a long time to build consistent trends. Even 5 years, you're talking thousands of dollars. So I don't think that's worth it, personally. The other reason I don't like Whoop is because your recovery is front and center. And I think for most people listening to this podcast, you work a full-time job, you're a mom, you're a dad, you travel, you're really busy. You need to work out when you have time to work out. That's most people's issue, is just finding time to exercise. If you wake up on a Thursday and you had it blocked off to go to the gym and your recovery is poor because your Whoop says your recovery is poor, and you're going to skip the gym again because your recovery is poor, I think that's not the best option for you. And so I do think Whoop is awesome for athletes. I know a lot of fitness influencers and Olympians who swear by it, and if it works for them, great. And if it works for you and you're listening to this, great. But I'd say if you're debating which wearable to buy, I wouldn't get a Whoop. I think they put way too much emphasis on recovery, and you honestly just need to get your butt moving. I'm worried less about that. Kat, you agree?
I cannot believe I haven't bought a Whoop. I actually cannot believe, because I really liked the idea of it back in the day. The one thing that really stopped me I was like, I'm going to have to wear a Whoop and my Apple Watch, because there's so much the Whoop does not do.
I did that.
And it's the step and the activity. So I was like, now I either have to have two things or just stick to one. And I think deep down I knew that I just probably didn't need to have a strain score and all that stuff, because I have internal awareness to understand those things. But yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that.
Yeah, I did one on each wrist for a while.
Yeah.
It's an interesting.
Yep.
But yes, if you're an Olympic sprinter and you're trying to PR and you're carb cycling and you're doing all this stuff, then I think a Whoop is a great tool for you. But if you're a busy mom and you don't have time to work out, I don't think you need something to tell you that you're tired, because you probably already know you're tired and you need to just kind of push through it. Outside of that, Fitbit, and I don't have one, and lots of people that do. It's very slim. I think if you're worried about size, Fitbit is a good option because it's going to do the basics like your steps and your sleep. You can barely see it. Personally, I'm obsessed with all these other health metrics. I think it's super cool that I can check my VO2 max and my all the heart rate and all of that. So I think if you're going to get something with more capabilities than a Fitbit. But if you're really just concerned with size, Fitbit's not a bad option. Another one, this is again from polling a lot of people in our program and in our community. We've heard pretty mixed reviews on the Oura Ring. Benefits are that it's really slim. You just wear it on your finger. Drawbacks are that it is a subscription again. And then there are a couple features that are missing. So to be honest, I'm kind of 50-50 on whether this is a good option for you. I think maybe it's worth testing. If you really don't want to watch and that's like a deal breaker for you, then that's not a bad option. Although one of our male clients said it gets in the way when he's lifting weights. So,
yeah, I think the Oura Ring is the second most popular one. It's bad at activity tracking, from my understanding. You have to tell it. It's just not as intuitive with that stuff. The battery life is insane. So you can charge it, and then I think you can wear it for like a week or so. So I think for people who maybe aren't good at charging their watch and forget it half the days of the week because you didn't charge it, which is, people tend to just be that type of person. Maybe the ring is better because you just don't take it off. For me, it's incredibly bulky, and I don't think it's attractive looking, and I don't want to wear a gigantic ring on my finger, but I like rings. But for me, that's an aesthetic reason. But the ring does the temperature tracking, which is the reason a lot of women use it. Because it does, it's fantastic they did the temperature tracking before the Apple Watch did. So that was why a lot of women, I think, got the Oura Ring to do their cycle tracking. And now that the watch does it, I think it's a much harder sell on the ring for me personally. But it is bulky. And for a lot of people, I think that gets just in the way or is annoying or bothers people when they're sleeping or things like that. So I think having something that's comfortable that you don't mind wearing all the time actually is an important decision to make. And if you wear the ring and you're taking it off half the time, I don't think that's a good fit for you, because you should have it on more to collect more information.
That's right. One that we hear a lot of positive reviews for is a Garmin. I have never owned one.
Yeah.
I do hear that review a lot from people who have Android phones. I think if you have an Android phone, I think a Garmin is a no-brainer for you. They have lots of different price points. You can spend $200, you can spend $1,500. I also know a lot of runners who swear by it because it really has, at least originally, was built mostly for runners. I think it's a great option. I don't really have anything bad to say about a Garmin, but I know, Kat, you and I are both just Team Apple Watch. I really can't say enough about it. I also 2 years ago upgraded to the Ultra, which has an insane 3-day battery life. I basically take a shower, charge my watch, maybe leave it off for another hour, and it's good for 3 more days. And so I'm wearing my watch constantly. One of the only drawbacks that I hear that I think is really fair about the Apple Watch is it's a little bulky to wear at night. And so if you're really interested in tracking your sleep and you don't want to wear a watch at night, I think you can look into something like an Oura Ring. But just the benefits to me far outweigh wearing something on my wrist at night. I don't even think about it anymore, and the Ultra is pretty bulky. I don't know. What do you think, Kat? You're smaller frame than me, and you wear your watch at night or no?
Yeah, I wear it at night. It doesn't bother me. I get the tiny one. I get the smallest size Apple Watch, which does have less features, but I do like it small. I have a tiny wrist, so a giant watch looks kind of crazy. But I also have, you can't see on the video, but I have a tiny band. I got a super slim band for it. I really like the watch because I get up at a slightly different time every single morning, and I can set my sleep schedule on my phone, and then my watch wakes me up with a very light buzz. It's the haptic where it's just you get a little bit of a sensation to wake you up. It is so much better than meh, 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 that fucking alarm sound that comes from your phone. Waking up to stress and adrenaline because your alarm scared the shit out of you is terrible. And this watch, it just wakes me up nice and smooth, and I do really appreciate that. But at first I was oh, this is annoying. But the fact that I do get up slightly different time and I just program that, I never have to think about, my alarm time either. But it doesn't bother me at all at night. And I also have it set to when it's on sleep mode, you don't get a call, you don't get a text message. So I'm never bothered at all by notifications. If you are, then you have to adjust your settings. Like that's a setting issue. But also just putting it out there, if you're worried that you're going to miss an important call from like your mom or something, you can just make settings so those people come through. So like people pass through those restrictions you set. So it's like, and I think probably the Apple Watch is the most customizable based on what you want it to do. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume so, as regarding features and stuff like that.
I mean, Apple just does such a good job at making everything sync nicely. And I mean, here is a list of features that I use on my watch that have nothing to do with fitness. I can ping my phone if I don't know where it is, which I use 4 times a day because, you know, my daughter will run off with my phone and put it under the couch. Saves me hours, you know, just, there it is. It's under the couch. I have a walkie-talkie feature where I can just buzz my wife without having to call her. I can just, you know, I have something in my hand. I'm like, hey, did you want this from the grocery store? I use that feature. There's just so many built-in features that play really nicely with your phone. And because it's Apple, whether it's fair or not, because they have such a large market share, because they have such an easy to develop for operating system, they're getting all of the cool stuff first. There's just so much happening on this one purchase that I made 3 years ago. Becomes a completely different device every 6 months. No subscription. And so I really don't have anything bad to say about it other than the size, or if you're an Apple hater, that's fine. You can go grab a Garmin or a Samsung watch or whatever. But I really give 2 thumbs up, Kat, and I'm glad you agree on the Apple Watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm very much an Apple product person, but that's just because I like all my things to speak to one another. But like you mentioned earlier, like my money's on Apple for developing really cool stuff, really good features, and the stuff that I want to know. Like I know they're already working on it. So for that, like I'm bought in for a long time.
Yes. And I will, and before we recap, I will end with this very quick story, which is when I worked at Apple, completely unrelated to the watch. I had a very boring job there, but I did a course internally where we had lots of other teams, and so I got matched up with this guy who worked on the health team. And I was like, very cool, like I work with health fitness apps, I'm a fitness trainer, like what do you do for the health team? And he's like, I debug it. I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, when someone taps the health app on their phone, it should open in less than half a second, like right away, and if it doesn't, then I debug it. That was his whole job. All he did at Apple every single day, 40 hours a week, was make sure that when you open the app, it opened quickly. Like that's the level of like care that Apple puts into their software, and I think it really shows in their watch. So again, I've never worn a Garmin. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but I have worn a Whoop and have coached other people, and I don't think there's as much just like fervor behind how awesome this wearable is. So that's our opinion, whether you care or not. In general, just to recap, lots of benefits of a wearable when it comes to your fitness journey. There are also lots of benefits when it comes to your health journey. The question you really want to ask yourself is it helping you or hurting you? Like, are you engaging with it in a healthy way? Are you feeling guilty and frustrated? You can also take a break. If you own one and you start to trend in the wrong direction, take it off for a week, see how you're doing. There's lots of ways to have a relationship with these, but I would say for most people, we see a lot of benefits, assuming your expectations are realistic and everything's aligned.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just need to understand yourself. You know, like the moment I was taking a walk that I didn't need to, I really had a moment where I was like, what is going on? And I checked myself and I figured it out, and now I don't have that. You need to be able to have that level of awareness. And if you don't, it's something we could always talk about with you. But I think a lot of people kind of know if it's helping them or hurting them. That's just all you really need to know. But one thing I also want to mention is if people don't want to spend money on an Apple Watch and that's why they get a Fitbit or something, like you also get what you pay for. And I feel like Fitbits are always like frustrating. They're either not, or they just like are like, when people use them they're just slow or laggy. They just like don't give us what we need. So I think if you're going to invest in something to learn, then you might need to spend a little bit more to get a lot more value, and that may feel scary, but I think that would be worth it, especially when it comes to wearables. But a Whoop, for example, it's pretty expensive, and then you have the monthly subscription. That's also like higher cost. Maybe you're not getting as much value out of it. So think about that as well, of like, what do you need to figure out? What do you want to learn? You know, what's most important to you, and then make your decision based on that.
Yeah, exactly right. If you want to talk about this topic more, you can join our Altalife community, and the link is in the show notes. This is one of the most popular topics I think we've ever thrown out there. We told everyone we were recording this, and we had a lot of opinions, which is really helpful. So thank you. Because, we don't have all the answers as coaches. We can't wear 15 wearables at once. So join our All to Life community. The link is in the show notes. You can follow more from the Queen of Step Count at CatBest Wellness on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at Andrew Hayes Life. Keep stepping, and we'll see you for the next one, everybody.
Thanks, guys.